2024 has shaped up to be a massive year for Hyundai and Kia electric vehicles. Kia EV6 saw a double-digit growth in sales, and Ioniq 5 saw an over 30% increase. So let's take a look at some of the numbers and do some comparisons with some of the other automakers, because things have really changed in the last year. So if you want to find out all the details, then stay tuned. Hey everyone, it's the Ioniq guy. If this is your first time here, welcome. My name's Corbin. I cover all things Hyundai, Kia, Genesis, EV related. So yeah, it's now the beginning of January, and that means we have sales numbers for the year of 2024. And damn, they look good. I will say though, there's one car in particular that doesn't look so great. So let's just start off with that bad news, and that is Ioniq 6 sales. So looking at the data, they sold 6% fewer Ioniq 6 in 2024 versus 2023. Now, I guess you got to keep in mind that in 2023, the Ioniq 6 went on sale. I believe it was March or April of that year. So there were 3 to 4 months where there were no sales. So that's the most likely explanation, because 2024 was the first full year of sales of the car. But either way, it's still really low volume. When you look at Hyundai's entire lineup, it is the lowest selling car that they sell. And it's not even close. The next worst seller is the Hyundai Venue, which is that tiny little subcompact SUV thing. And they sold almost 25,000 of those, and the Ioniq 6 was less than half of that. And Ioniq 5 is outselling the Ioniq 6 at almost 4-1. So it's just not a big hit here in the United States. I know in a lot of other markets around the world, people still enjoy sedans. Here in the US, that doesn't really seem to be the case. Obviously, I like the Ioniq 6. I have one, and it's just a great all-around car. Next up, the absolute beast, the Ioniq 5. 44,400 units compared to 2023, which was 33,918. So massive increase in sales volume, and it's really starting to show. As I drive around, I am seeing more and more Ioniq 5s on the road, which is totally awesome to see. Hopefully it only gets better now that there's the refreshed model hitting dealer lots with all these improvements, and it is now being made right here in the United States. So just looking at quarter 4, Ioniq 5 sales were up massively, 64% up, 14,000 units just in quarter 4. Ioniq 6, kind of the opposite, down 32% from 4681 in Q4 2023 to 3167 in Q4 2024. So big swing there. But the Ioniq 6 is going to be getting a refresh in 2025 with the bigger battery pack, new software, NACS charge port. Hopefully all this can come together and make it more appealing. It's going to have a revised front and rear fascia. That's kind of the real hit or miss thing with that car. Some people really don't like the design and will never buy it just on that, which I think is a shame because it is a fantastic electric car. Unfortunately, we don't have a breakout right now of Kona electric sales. Kona sales were actually pretty good. 2024, they sold 82,172. But until we see what portion of that is the electric version, we just can't really say. Now, going over to Kia, they also had a big year. The new kid on the block, the EV9, has actually outsold the EV6. Granted, it's only by about 200 units or so, but it's still really came to be the hot seller for Kia this year. So 22,017 units. EV6 sold 21,715 units, which is up from 18,879 in 2023. So a little over 10% increase in sales for the year. And then for EV9, obviously it didn't go on sale until December of 2023, where they sold 1,118 units. So this is the first year of full January to December data that we have. Now, Kia didn't break out their quarterly numbers, but their month of December sales volume was really good. Over 2,000 EV6s, which is up from 1,200 in 2023, and EV9 1951 versus 1113 in 2023. So when you look at the overall market, this seems to be a trend since the election here in the United States and the possible threat of EV incentives from the federal government going away. A lot of people are rushing out and buying these cars now while they can still get them for cheaper. And this all kind of leads into some news we just found out, is that the federal government has said that 2025 Ioniq 5, 2025 Ioniq 9, 2026 Kia EV6, 2026 Kia EV9, and 2025 electrified GV70 are all going to qualify for the full federal tax credit of $7,500. Now, that could go away with the new administration, so you might have 2 to 3 weeks here to actually receive this full tax credit, which is pretty unfortunate. We still don't know much. We're going to have to wait and see, but very good to see this. Now, I haven't been able to find Genesis full year sales data, but I do have January through November, and sales are pretty minuscule. It's their luxury division. It doesn't sell in the same volumes that Hyundai does, but so far, January through November, GV60 sales in the US, 2,486, electrified G70, 2646. I can't believe the electrified GV70 is selling better than the GV60. I don't know why it's so surprising because I really like the electrified GV70. It's a whole different feel versus the GV60. But even still, it's just kind of surprising to see those numbers. Granted, it's only a couple hundred units, so it's not a major difference, but I was expecting the GV60 to sell a little bit better, especially because it now is available with that lower rear-wheel drive standard trim. And then the electrified G80, the big seller for Genesis, 368 units. Oh, that is awful. But both the electrified G80, GV70, and GV60 are all getting refreshes for the new model year. So hopefully that will help make them a little bit more appealing. So outside of just Hyundai, Kia, Genesis, it was a huge year for EV sales, period, in the US. So for the year, 1.3 million EVs were sold in the US, and that now accounts for almost 10% of all new car sales in the US, 8%. That is awesome to see. So excited about that. And despite all the propaganda you want to hear about EV sales are falling off a cliff, that is up 100,000 vehicles versus 2023 at 1.2 million cars. So believe whatever you want to, but the numbers tell the true story. So who are the market leaders? So obviously, number one is still Tesla. They're still the king here in the US, but their sales are slipping. 2024, they saw a decline in sales numbers, but there's a lot more competition, and it is good competition. So next up, General Motors also having a banner year, 114,000 EVs. It's about time. They've been promising EVs for so many years now. They're finally starting to sell them because they have so many different models. Now, it is possible that Hyundai Motor Group, which is Hyundai, Kia, and Genesis, when you total their EV sales, will beat out GM, but until we find out some more numbers, we're not going to know for certain, but they're up there in the top three. They're going to be over 100,000 units, but it could be possibly up to 115 or so. Next up, we've got Ford with 99,000 EVs. And that's pretty impressive considering they only really have three. They've got the F-150 Lightning, the Ford Mustang Mach-E, and then the E-Transit van. So next up is the big surprise for 2024. That is Honda. Honda came out of nowhere. They developed the Prologue with General Motors. They're basically rebadging a General Motors car and then slapping in their software and their design. But they sold 33,000 Prologues in 2024, and it wasn't even on sale for the entire year. It sold way more than the EV6, way more than the EV9 that have been out there for a while now. So people really want the Honda Prologue. Still didn't beat out Ioniq 5, but it is still a big seller for Honda and has really kind of made a name for them in the EV segment. I personally have never been in one. I'm hoping to get one for a test car in the near future when I have some more free time because it does look like an appealing EV for many people. The lease deals have been really good for the Prologue, and it really shows. When I drove down to Apex, North Carolina, I think I saw 5 or 6 Prologues charging at Electrify America stations. Up until this trip, I had not really seen any on the road, but they were all over New Jersey, all over Maryland. And then after Honda, you have Toyota. They don't really have a whole lot going on. They've got the BZ4X. It does seem like it's a lot of Uber drivers and fleet drivers, taxis that are buying the BZ4X. Hopefully they have some more EVs on the horizon. If you haven't heard, Honda and Nissan are going to be merging because Nissan is just basically about to go bankrupt. The Aria actually didn't sell horribly in the US. They did about 20,000 units, which is basically on par with Kia EV6. So Yeah, not sure what's going on with Nissan, maybe just mismanagement, but yeah, they're having a hard time. So Honda and Nissan are going to become one company relatively soon. So I'm super stoked on all this information. Love to see Hyundai and Kia absolutely crushing it. They made the right investments at the right time, and I really think it's going to lead to a really good 2025 for them. Obviously, you can expect all the coverage throughout the year talking about what's going on with Hyundai and Kia. So anyway, guys, if you liked today's video, give it a thumbs up. Check out my store at ioniqguy.com for accessories for your Hyundai, Kia, or Genesis EV. Consider becoming a channel member to get early access to all my videos. And as always, I will see you guys in the next one. Take care, everybody.